47th president was not going to be the vice president. That moment of just embracing loss.
Right. Yes.
And I'm still embracing it.
Are you still embracing it? Okay.
I'm embracing it. But I'm in a real place too, though.
Okay.
I'm grateful for the experience.
When you say you're at a real place, what do you mean by that? Does it mean you've accepted it? Does it mean you're...
No, I've accepted the outcome.
Yeah.
I've accepted the outcome, and I'm grateful that I can still meet God in that emotion.
Interesting.
And I had to.
Okay.
Like literally, I had to meet God in that emotion. So God becomes more real in the loss for me.
Okay.
For me, not to spiritualize it, but just for me, God becomes more real, and practicing His presence after the loss.
Yes.
Helps substantiate who I really am.
Yes.
Gives me something.
Yes.
So I'm good. I'm good. I'm better. No, I'm not good. I'm better.
Okay. Were you surprised?
Not really.
Why not?
The presidency of the United States for the last 46 presidents have been one gender. Just facts.
Okay.
For 46 presidents.
45 out of 46. Right?
No.
Are we on 46
We're
right
on
now?
47.
He will be 47.
Yeah.
So 46 we've had.
Yeah.
So 45 out of 46.
Yeah.
Oh, all men.
Yeah.
You're saying
gender.
the men. Oh,
that's a gender.
awesome. Okay, got you. Okay, I got it. Okay.
I'm not surprised.
So you're not surprised because
historically, we weren't ready to make history. Well, historically, the makeup for that position has been male. Historically.
Okay.
For 46 times.
Yes, right.
Some have been repeats.
Right.
The presidency has been gender specific.
Exactly. That's right. That's true.
So I wasn't surprised on that front.
Okay.
Knowing the temperature of the country, I was not surprised that we really wasn't ready to make that type of decision.
Interesting.
We was not.
And when you say we, who do you put in? People. Yeah, it's interesting you say American that.
People. I'm just being honest.
Well, I shared with you, I did a little research, and I would love to just say the American people, right? And maybe
you would love to say that.
I would love to say.
Can we start there at least?
We can start there and because
disaggregate some data.
And that
in this conversation. Is it all right if we disaggregate some data?
We can do that. Yes.
Okay, let's disaggregate.
We can do that. Yes.
Let's start there.
Okay.
For 46 times.
Yes.
Was Washington elected? I don't know.
The first president?
Yeah, was he really elected?
It's George Washington. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't living.
I didn't have it. As my grandmama said, I didn't have a nickel in that day.
Did not, exactly.
But
right.
I want to say, let's just say up until now.
Yes.
It has been the seat of a man.
Right.
To be in that seat.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
I'm cool with that convention.
Yes.
Period.
Period. Okay.
Now, the data reflects something that I'm not cool with.
What is that?
We'll talk about it later. We're going to dive. I need to take a slow dive into this because I thought there was going to be a greater representation from certain groups. And by looking at the data now, I've been let down.
We're actually gonna dive right into that because the deal is I looked, and as you and I were talking, I said, the challenge, we could say, again, the American people, or we could go to, I know I've seen a lot of discussion around Caucasian groups and all of this. The bottom line, though, is that we didn't take care of doing the work.
Okay.
And when I say we, I'm saying that African Americans did not even go vote, regardless of who y'all chose. when I looked at the data after you and I had the conversation, because I said, I don't want to get on the radio and talk about something that is not actually factually based. So I said, let me compare what happened in 2008 and 2012 when President Obama was elected versus what happened this time. And the difference is that almost double the number of people, African Americans, diversity, Latinos, the whole 9 yards, showed up in 2008 and 2012 versus in 2024. So the question is, why did our groups just opt out of the process?
And for years to come, we will ask that question.
Why did
what are some of what variables, tendencies? Why did we opt out?
Why did we opt out of the process? I mean, was it that they said, "Hey, on the other side, they're not necessarily..."
Orlando can answer that question.
You know, you always bring.
Why did we opt out of the process of voting on Tuesday? As we looked at
African Americans,
the male population, and he might need to see show him the graph real fast.
Yeah, we were looking at a graph, and it showed that. So a lot of people were saying, well, 78% of African Americans voted, but if you look above that, only 5% of Black men were among the voters.
That can't be true.
Yeah, that looks a little low.
And there's 20. So then I went and looked, and I said, well, African Americans make up roughly 20% of the population. So
what population?
Of the whole country, right? So
no.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you.
Okay. Sure. Of the whole country?
41, there are 41.57 million as of 2022. Yeah, I thought I had the other data on that. I could go pull it up.
Yeah, I mean, African Americans as a whole in the country is under like 15%, right?
No, it was closer to like 20%. Yeah, it was
African Americans.
That's correct. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. But we're not. I mean, and I don't have that particular.
But the fact 5%.
No, I didn't make that chart.
I guess if you're talking about of the whole country, it's only 5%
showed up to vote.
Men. Yes,
Black men showed up to vote. Right.
Well, I can see that. You're talking about of the whole pie of the whole country.
Right.
Only 5% are Black men.
Right.
Yes. Now the key is how many of those 5% voted for her?
78%. What was it? 70, something like that.
So,
but the numbers weren't even enough. So when you look at 2008, 2012, that number was almost double.
Interesting. Well,
we're gonna look at it.
So what is it?
Well, I just need to study that for a minute.
Yeah.
I need to get.
In fact, this article here from 2009 says that the 2008 electorate was the most diverse in U.S. history.
Okay. Well, let me say this. This is what I was saying on it. The whole thing about Kamala Harris.
Okay.
It was less about the fact that she was a female president.
Okay.
It was more about she wasn't her own female because she didn't separate from Biden. So in the eyes of Black men, you and Biden wasn't helping my situation.
And
she didn't separate herself clearly. And she may not have had enough time to do that.
Right.
But from the standpoint, they already knew what Trump was. They understood what his brand is.
Right.
That wasn't enough for me to understand, okay, what are you going to do for me?
Right.
And all I'm hearing is the echo chamber from what's going on from Biden.
Right.
So to me, that would have been one of the factors.
Yep. And I think that's a really good
Hit
point.
The red button right now. The red button.
That's a really good point
What's
because what Orlando just said, there wasn't enough in the Black male psyche to say, how are you going to be different and how are you actually going to look out for me? And like I said to you, I said, well, D.L. Hughley was at a Black men conference or whatever that was they had on BET. I'm not sure how they termed it, but it would have been good for her to show up because they're looking, my battery saver. They're looking to know you got our back. African American men, which I'm not one. So, yeah. So that could be a factor.
That she did not have enough separation.
She didn't have enough separation and she didn't have enough in her rallies. And yes, you have to take care of the whole United States, but just like she could rally for women's rights to abortion, you can rally for African American men's rights to whatever they need, right?
And we have needs.
Right, absolutely.
And they were never
were they addressed?
Prioritized.
Were they even addressed?
I don't think so. I can't remember her saying anything to prioritize me as a man.
Yes.
And then to put the agenda of the community where I serve the most.
Right.
At the forefront.
Exactly.
I hope I said that correctly.
No,
you where said, I said the most.
You said
at the forefront. So I
did.
So thank you, Brother Ward, for that, because now that makes much more sense.
Yes.
Possibly the data reflects some of that idea.
Right.
That number one, you didn't separate yourself from him enough.
Right.
And as a kid say, stand on business.
Stand on business.
Stand on business.
Exactly.
Number two, there was no I wasn't a priority.
Right. Exactly.
What made me a priority under your campaign?
Exactly.
So what were your bullet points that made the African American male a priority?
Right.
Whereas the opponent, it's already understood in the slogans who priority is.
And whether you like it or not,
it's understood.
They understand it. Exactly.
It's understood.
The truth. They are clear on they are clear on who he is and what he stands for. There is no ambiguity there. And when there's ambiguity, sometimes if people say, if I can't say 100% a yes, it has to be a no. And for, I think about, even male relationships, if they don't want to talk about it, they just don't say anything. Right?
Say a word.
And that is what happened here. They just didn't say anything.
Silence.
Yeah.
Can be misinterpreted. I always tell people that.
Right. Because now we're guessing how they're thinking.
Misinterpreted.
Right. But if you didn't show up to the fight,
you can't say who won.
You can say who won, but you can't say you helped compete. You didn't compete. So yeah. Now, and I'm also going to ask you this as a pastor, because you and I had this conversation about, this ideal that men are supposed to lead according to the Bible, right?
Of course.
And so in the African American community, there's a lot of evangelical Christianity, I should say. And right, exactly. And so that thought process might have had to be unpacked a little bit.
Yeah, we actually had individuals who have some type of platforms on the social media scale, that were vehemently against.
Oh, really?
Her because of the stance she's taken morally.
Right.
Already, like some of the things that she stood for, you can go out there and find a few of the African American pastorate.
Right.
So no, we're not for that.
We're not for that. Right.
Now you might be skin folk.
Right.
But we're not for that.
We're not for that.
As a matter of fact, I actually met a preacher in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a week prior to the election.
Okay.
And he said he was connected to Bishop such and such.
Right.
Actually said he was his son-in-law. So I need to fact check that. To see 6'3", 6'4" brother get out the car with the red cap on, my amygdala rose.
Okay.
I said, okay, let me shake this brother's hand and just figure out you have come here from there.
Right.
With the hat on.
Right.
Pulled up in front of the hotel.
Right.
With the hat on.
Right.
And I'm like, I was gone. I was somewhere else. And then, through self-regulation and emotional intelligence.
Right.
Through school days, world-class training.
Right.
Agape leadership.
Yes.
I was able to encourage myself.
Right.
To not dismiss him or be dismissive.
Yeah.
But to go shake his hand.
Uh-huh.
I never really asked, but we started talking. He told me who his father-in-law was.
Right.
Who has a YouTube channel and everything.
Yeah.
But was totally against her being his leader. I don't think it was from the standpoint of just being female, but where she stood on some moral issues.
Right. Particularly that right to choose your own.
That
and to your point,
thing, that was a done deal with a lot of people.
Including my son, who's a younger person, right? I mean, that was one of the first things he said also. He said, Mom, I'm not with that. Right. You can just go. And so to have a, maybe that was too much of a monolithic thought that everybody in the country or enough people who are democratic are thinking, yes, every woman should have a right to, as she says, do what they want with their own bodies, right? And then there are some African-American men who probably have said, you know what, not in the instances of you're going to lose your life, but in the instances of, I didn't even know she was pregnant and she's going to kill my baby. Yeah. Exactly, right. So everybody, so when you have that thought, you got to kind of walk through what are some of the other scenarios when that happened, and a man who actually wanted his baby
couldn't.
Because somebody independently made that choice.
Right. So morally, she was, let me say this liberal thought idea that has swept through the Democratic Party, or they forcing the Democrats to that narrative. I don't know how true it is.
Right.
But it's definitely not who I am.
Right. Right.
First of all, as a person.
Yeah.
Then being Southern and Baptist and Southern Baptist and church boy, some of the things I just was not for.
Right.
I just was not.
Right.
And then to add to that, because I have to represent some form of ethic.
Right.
That totally went against the grain.
Yeah.
Of who I am as a person. Take preacher off the table, but who I am as a person. Like you said, we're not knocking it for social media who's watching us. Whatever is your choice.
Right.
But unless it's something life-threatening for you just to be selfish.
Right.
Nah,
exactly.
I'm not.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's some other things she stood on.
And I would even say
she stood on were variables to definitely deaden male support.
Like what?
Now, I'm not sure how far she went with this, but, the transgenderism that's sweeping the nation. And Dawn wanting to be Dawn.
Nah. Okay. D-O-N.
Yeah.
D-A-W-N wanting to be D-O-N.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Or D-O-N.
Right.
Wanted to be D-A-W-N and play sports.
Right. Okay.
No, we're not doing that.
Right. Okay.
No, we're not doing that. Because you were born D-O-N.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay.
And you have the makeup of a D-O-N.
Right.
And now you want to be D-A-W-N and go play sports with the girls?
Right.
No.
We're not doing that.
That's not even a discussion.
Okay.
That's not even and if I had a child, if my daughter, who's now an adult, if her opponents, 3 or 4 born men, boys, you're not playing in that game.
Okay. Right.
No. Not where there's anything where they have to come into contact.
Right. Okay.
We're not doing that. I just feel like that is we're not doing that.
Right.
That's real. Right. That's a real space.
Yeah.
And for the right, the left, the in the middle, the direct, whatever, to push that narrative on me all the time, I was always hesitant about being upfront in my support publicly because of the backlash.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So it's like, no, baby
absolutely.
Girl. But what saved her?
Right.
For me, I told you what saved her. But some of those other issues.
It's the fish fry.
It's the
she knew
how to eat some catfish spaghetti.
He said, I think she knows what a fish fry.
I'm just saying.
Right.
But we're just talking about the moral piece.
No, and
I'm not with that.
I totally agree with you. Yes,
and I'm still not with it.
Yes.
And I know where we're going, where some people have gone.
Right. Okay.
Prayerfully, I won't have to make those decisions.
Right.
But I just feel like that's so unfair.
Yep.
To change what God has already put in place. You have created yourself to be something that you don't have the moral capabilities to become and be.
Yes.
So so girlfriend.
Right.
Slow that down.
Slow it down.
Slow your roll.
Right.
slow your roll.
Because if you're saying I am the president of all of America, then you cannot have extreme views in a direction that the whole that's what do you call it? Polarizing.
Okay.
Those views could be seen as polarizing. Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, no, I totally get you. So if we're giving her advice, is because we got about 3 minutes left.
Oh my God.
And we say, hey, Auntie Kamala.
Auntie, what she is
Auntie
now?
Kamala.
Auntie
Kamala.
Come on here. Go around that corner.
What do you take away from this? If we would give her like a takeaway to really say, if you're thinking about this and how you're going to really impact the country, and it's particularly African American men, what's going to get them to the polls and want to vote for you? What is that? Because you guys are significant to the demographic that would help her get in the office, in the White House. And I say that because when I looked at the stats for Caucasians, pretty much they voted about the same in terms of percentages back in 2008, 2012. The difference was the diversity. So
slow down. Let's unpack that, and we'll finish this conversation on another day. Give me those stats again.
The percentages of Caucasians.
People need to hear this. Based upon the data that was given in 2008, 2012.
Yep. So it was about 76, if I'm reading this right, 76.3 2008 Caucasian people. And then in 2020, I think it was like around 71, so maybe down about 5%, even less actually. So let me just
But it was down.
It was down.
But when we get to 2024.
Right, 71% voted in 2024. 76.1 in 2008. So they're even down. No, I did both white men and women. Right. Yep. It was about.
But that's it. But when you get to us.
Right. But when you get to us. Right. Exactly.
There was a significant
drop off. Almost about 50% less.
African American male.
Both. I put them both together. But for the men, it may be about 60% less.
I mean, that says a lot.
That says a lot. Didn't even show up. They just said, hey.
And we heard from an individual yesterday who is not Gen Zer. Is it Gen Z?
We couldn't figure it out. We think that, right.
But said he's 27 and was what his narrative was. It's like, whoa, we have to change the narrative.
Right, exactly.
We have to change the narrative.
Yep.
Because his thought was she can't. Because she can't.
Right.
When she can, she's had the most influential positions a country can offer a person.
Right. Yeah.
In law.
Right. This is true. Right.
From California, you are the
Attorney General, District Attorney, District Attorney, Attorney General, Senator, all of these. Right. Exactly.
You can't go any higher.
Right. That's true.
Then you become the vice president.
Right.
So your vitae is phenomenal.
Exactly.
You can't get any better than that.
Right.
But it was the other issue.
And when you come outside of California, which is typically a much more liberal state,
right?
You got to think about
that.
Yeah. Because I mean, the red
red wave. Ooh. That's what they called it that Sunday morning. But we said it was the blood. It was a red wave, I tell you.
They said this is it. Yeah,
it's y'all, I wish we had time, and we do have time. We will finish this conversation.
Yes.
And we're going to dive deeper into that data. It's been fun. It's been real. Thank you for listening to the Leaders Lounge.
Yes. Thank you, Pastor.
How can they hear you down, and where can they get your service?
Worldclasstraining.net. And we got a program, worldclasstraining.net/SOAR is our 4 sessions to help y'all plan and be ready for 2025, the year of the awakening, grace, personal development, all of that. Yes, in 2025. Absolutely.